All right, welcome back to the Alec Lewis Show. I am your host, Alec Lewis. This is episode 127, recording on Tuesday, November 11th, a couple days after the Vikings lost at US Bank Stadium to the Baltimore Ravens. It was a tough one, obviously. It was one that was very much there for the taking. It was one where the Ravens did not look spectacular, but the Vikings just weren't able to capitalize on the early momentum. And the tide turned pretty quickly before halftime, and the Vikings could recover. Went through the film, both the offense and defense, and have a lot of thoughts from it. Also took some questions from you guys on social media. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through the film, specifically J.J. McCarthy, talk about some players who really stood out to me, and then get into a ton of your questions. If you're new here and watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us out. We do this a couple episodes a week, as I also do my day job covering the Vikings for The Athletic. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or iHeart, you can rate and review, and we really, really appreciate you guys doing that as well. This show is presented by First Resource Bank. If you've listened to the show, you know that it is a member FDIC bank in the Minneapolis area with branches all over the place, and it's run by really good people who are also Vikings fans. Tim Siegley, Aaron Siegley, Charlie Anderson, Christy at the front desk of the Washington location. They are locked into the team just like you guys are, and their banking platform is phenomenal. It's easy to use. It's helped me since I moved up here beginning in 2022. The show is also sponsored by Unreal, and I've got this V3, version 3, volume 3 drop that they were nice enough to pass along. I mean, this thing is beautiful. It's sleek, hints of purple, black. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it, but they send me these things, and I've got friends that are, I mean, it's like the the birds in Finding Nemo with the trying to get these hoodies. But yeah, you can find those at Unreal. It's a locally owned brand that works with a lot of these NFL teams to produce, for my money, some really, really good attire that I also wear almost every day now, and have everyone with the Vikings making fun of me for it. All right. Let's hop right into it. Okay. We'll start with J.J. McCarthy's play, and I'll go with like a top end view, and then, some numbers, historical comps for this first four games. And then I'll get into some specific examples from the film that I just want to bring up and that you guys can go look at if you want some verification or validation to some of the thoughts I have. So with JJ's play, I mean, I made a bunch of notes here. Like there are the top end flashes. Like there are on the film throughout watching these games, as you guys do, you see some throws, some movements, some velocity that it's like the type of stuff that you hope to see when you draft a quarterback in the first round. Like that stuff definitely does exist. And I've got a film example later to showcase it. But I mean, other examples, the first possession, yes, that beautiful deep ball down the left sideline to Jalen Naylor. Can a lot of NFL quarterbacks hit that pass? Yes. But, he put it right on the money. Deserves credit for that. There was a third down, multiple third downs on the first couple of drives, with a guy bearing down on him. He hits Justin Jefferson in rhythm on an out route. Good throw. There was another third down where he resets from the left and hits Jalen Naylor over to the middle of the field. Now, if we're nitpicking, could he have held his eyes longer to the left and found T.J. Hawkinson leaking up the sidelines? Potentially, but you're going to give the guy credit for playing in rhythm, given how important rhythm is to the position, and seeing him do those types of things. Like, he deserves credit for the high-end flashes. The mobility is there. Like, he's obviously athletic. The twitch and the movements are the types that you'd expect of a guy who has been an athlete like his whole life, and not just a football athlete. Like, some of these movements are just very athletic. He's not stiff. And he really is capable of utilizing that mobility, whether it's, quarterback run game, whether it's scrambling when you see man coverage, knowing that that's an option for you. Like, that stuff is also in there. What's also in there is some inaccuracies and some spraying of throws that is, I mean, it gets pretty jarring. Like, it just does. A lot of them, frankly, happen when he's throwing to his left. And that was, for a lot of the people who did charting on JJ's throws at Michigan in college, when he was throwing to his left, there were often times where he overcooked some of those throws. I mean, I can, probably rattle off at least 5 from Sunday's game, whether it's, Justin Jefferson's open on the right sideline and he sails it above his head, whether it's in the red zone late in the game, Justin on a little quick hitch and JJ spikes it on the ground like a wild pitch, whether it's another throw late in the game, Justin Jefferson running a corner route to the left sideline and JJ throws it high and hot and it really could have been intercepted. Again, Jordan Addison, quick out to the left, and it's just an absolute laser beam that just bounces into the Ravens sideline. There are a lot of those every week. It's just been a theme, and it really does feel like early on in the game when J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings are on the script of plays that they've probably repped a ton of times, it feels rhythmic, the accuracy feels there, and then over the course of the game, as he gets hit, as the team has to drop back more, as he is in a position where the first read is not available and it's not a lot of easy button screen passes, it just feels like it starts to unwind. How much is that a byproduct? I mean, this is where the complications get from an analysis standpoint. And you talk to people inside the building, you ask scouts what they think about it. Is this a byproduct of physical mechanics? I don't know. Is it a byproduct of the anxiety of the moment affecting the physical mechanics? Like, hard to delineate. Is it a byproduct of not having the requisite arm talent so that you just have to strain and throw direct line kind of arc throws throughout the course of a game? Like, these are hard questions to answer, and with 4 games of sample size, just not sure we have enough data to really answer a lot of those questions. With JJ McCarthy's play, like, there are some pocket feel where he'll feel an edge rusher kind of creeping into his lap. He'll drift a little bit to the left, evading the pressure. Good. But then there are also times where he'll drift, or climb the pocket, then climb, and then he'll get, climb so far where it almost looks like he's an outfielder crow hopping as opposed to, subtle move, stick, balance, throw. And it's real easy. Like, we're 8 minutes into this. I'm going to be very clear. It's real easy being a guy who has never played the position at any level, and who is watching on film to say a lot of this. So I want you guys to know that I'm not going to try to come across as some, quarterback expert, evaluation, again, like, that's JT O'Sullivan who does it for the QB school. He played the position. Whether it's whoever you want to name who evaluates film or has thoughts. I mean, your Kurt Warners of the world, like those guys do it for a living, and they've been in the fight and they know the anxiety. And so I never, ever want to pretend or come across like, my lens is the gospel. And oftentimes in this role, it feels like sometimes people, that's an approach that people take. And I just want to be very clear. Like, this is my analysis, and it is influenced by conversations with people inside and outside of the building who have done this, have worked in the industry for like far longer and far deeper than I ever have. So that's what I'll say. But the pocket feel, like, some of those batted passes seem to be a byproduct of climbing, and then he's so close to these big, massive interior defensive linemen that it's hard then to get the ball up and over, especially if your throwing style is as line drive as it feels like. The velocity is not a question at all for me. And it hasn't been. Like, if you've listened to this podcast and if you've read the writing going back a long time now, I mean, really going back to JJ's first training camp last fall, any questions about his arm strength to me were always kind of foolish. I mean, all it took was standing out there on the practice field and watching him throw alongside the other guys. And you would, easily, quickly ascertain that he has some real pace to a lot of these throws. But the question then, and the question still now, is like, the velocity is great, but can you channel that velocity into layered throws? Can you get the ball up and down? Can you, does it always, when you're throwing over the middle, does it always have to, is it a catchable ball? I mean, that is a very anecdotal, subjective statement, but I was like joking about it with a friend in some ways. Like, if I'm sitting across the room and I toss you a football, is it easier if I put air under it to catch? Or is it easier if I just launch it at you directly on that one angle? It's kind of like, and I'm going to use like the baseball, I covered baseball for 3 years. I'm going to use this analogy a little bit today. It's kind of like if you're a pitcher and you're throwing down the mound, the angle at which you throw really does matter. It matters in terms of the hitter's identification. It matters in terms of what pitches you're going to throw. And so I just, some throws of the football seem to have kind of just a feel of, what type of shot does this throw require? And whereas watching JJ oftentimes, like, you see some of it sometimes, like, it's not like it's not in there. That's what I would say. But there are oftentimes too, where it's like, does every throw have to be this direct on a line bullet? And I'll just give a little bit of a, I guess, peek behind the curtain on my process. I mean, I asked a scout in the NFC who I respect their opinion, if they could watch some throws, rewatch the entire Lions game on film. And one of the thoughts was, I mean, and this was a quote, it's like, arm strength for days, but it's like, the quote was, but I don't feel great layering over defenders to fit balls into windows. And so, I mean, again, this isn't like, that's not a shocking evaluation or observation. Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy have talked for a long time about about that being an area where growth and development is required. And so, and again, like, it brings me back to the conversation we just had a little bit. Is that something that is like an innate thing? Is that something that can be developed? If you have to think about putting touch on the ball instead of just, smoothly being able to do it, like, how much is that something that, just becomes stamped into, your fingerprint over time? It's a question I have. And it's something like, we're going to obviously all, you guys watching every Sunday, me covering the games every Sunday, and being at practice and talking to people, something that's going to be continuously be an evaluation. To continue, I'll say, like, anybody who feels like or is confident that they have a definitive view on what JJ McCarthy is going to be at this point, that's just missing the boat on the sample size that is necessary for a guy of his age. The challenge is, he's in a developmental mode. I mean, Kevin O'Connell has stated plenty of times recently, and I mean, really going back a ways, that like, he is early in his developmental arc. And the challenge is, you're trying to accelerate that with a team that is coming off a 14-win season, with a team that hasn't won a playoff game under the current regime, with a team that has only won 2 playoff games in the last 15 years, which I wrote that in my story for Tuesday, and I am not sure it really dawned on me that it has been that, I mean, there has been that little of playoff success in the last 15 years. It gives me more empathy for you guys who are as passionate as you are and watching my show and listening to it and reading the writing and tweeting your thoughts, emotional and everything every Sunday. But I mean, there has to be a level of urgency in terms of the development. And I mean, frankly, when you have a regime that is in its fourth season, let's say you go through the fourth season, you haven't won a playoff game, then you enter your fifth season. I mean, you have to have a very good feel for where JJ is at in his journey as you think about roster construction for 2026. And that's so much of what these next 8 games are about. To segue a little bit, not really, we're still talking about JJ. So one of the things that a lot of people have asked me, and one of the things that I've been curious about, you guys will say something like, okay, JJ has a 53.7% completion percentage. So, Alec, how bad is that? Where does that stack up? Who had similar completion percentages that panned out? What are some names of guys who didn't? And so I went through True Media, which is a trusty source for us over at The Athletic. It's like the most in-depth database, really, that you can find besides Next Gen Stats. And I went through the last 25 years and pulled up some names. Okay, so to reiterate, J.J. McCarthy's completion percentage, 53.7%. Here are some players with comparable completion percentages in their first year starting. Eli Manning, Alex Smith, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, Andrew Luck, and Jared Goff. All these guys. Okay, like Eli Manning, 48.9%. Alex Smith, 50.6%. Matthew Stafford, 53.3%. Jared Goff, 54.6%. Now, there are some caveats to this, okay? One of them being that most of the 7 that I just mentioned, they started their first year starting were with teams that had been floundering, to put it lightly. I mean, Eli Manning takes over for a 4-12 Giants team. Alex Smith takes over for a 2-14 49ers team. Jalen Hurts, the Eagles had been 9-7. Matthew Stafford's Lions, when he first started, they had been 0-16. Andrew Luck's Colts, 2-14. Jared Goff's Rams, which were still in St. Louis and Jeff Fisher was the coach, 7-9. So it is difficult to compare J.J. McCarthy and where he is and what his performance has been to other first-year starters because the situations are all drastically different. Like, I did not go through the list of the roster that Matthew Stafford played with in Detroit, coming off the team, starting for a team that was coming off an 0-16 season. But I can guarantee you that it did not have the level of talent / coaching that this Vikings team entered this season with, coming off of the 14-3 win season. So that's just something that has to be stated as I go through those numbers. The other aspect is it's hard to imagine that any of those 7, would have incorporated the level of investment that this Vikings team did in this particular season. Just thought I'd mention that. Now, those were all players who have made it really work. And I to be even-handed, there's a list of guys with similar completion percentages who were highly picked, highly regarded, who did not work. Your Blaine Gabberts, Joey Harrington, Kyle Bowler, David Carr, Jimmy Clausen, Mark Sanchez, and a guy you're familiar with, Christian Ponder. All those guys had completion percentages through their first year starting that were in similar ballpark, similar range to where J.J. McCarthy is right now. So that's just kind of where it is. Like, the completion percentage in itself is not some indicator or predictor of anything, but it is essential to include, to be mindful of the dynamic of the teams that these players joined, where they've been, what they have, the talent they have, the coaching acumen, the defense matters, etc. So wanted to do a little bit of we're 4 games in. That's a little bit of a comp, a little bit of a juxtaposition, that type of thing. Now, some examples from the film. And this is, for you guys to go back and look, if you've got the time, if you're at the gym and you're in between reps and you're like, I just want a way to waste the time. I'm going to go, see what plays Alec is talking about. I'm going to give you 5 of them. If you're on a walk, you're probably not going to do it. You probably should just peacefully enjoy your walk or your car ride or wherever you're listening to this, and not, definitely don't pull up the film and drive. That would be, that would be irresponsible. And I just don't want to be, no liability here on the Alec Lewis show. All right. So like an example of a crazy high, 4th and 10, 3 minutes and 28 seconds left. It's a shotgun 2x2 formation. Will Fries gets pressed in J.J. McCarthy's face. J.J.'s a little off platform. Jalen Naylor's running a corner route in the end zone. He doesn't really have great leverage, and somehow J.J. McCarthy gets the ball up and over on this 4th and 10 throw for a touchdown that cut it to a one-possession game. I mean, like that throw, he did get the ball a little bit up and down. He did subtly move in the pocket. It was late in the game, so he's still competing, which should not be, he has that, desire in him to a point at which sometimes you wonder if that competitiveness desire bleeds over into the straining, the clinching, the vein, popping sometimes with how it feels like he throws the football. But like that type of throw, all it takes is one glimpse at that, and you're like, it's a very impressive throw for a 22-year-old in his 4th start to make. So that's an example of the crazy high. Like there's also the low lows that just make you, put your hand on your head or shake your head. An example, 1st and 10, 14 minutes, 55 seconds left in the second quarter. It's an under center, 12 personnel, 2 tight end set, play action, deep drop, and J.J. McCarthy is looking to his left, and he's hitching, and he's hitching, and he's looking, and he's looking. And Jordan Addison's running this crossing route from the left side of the field to the right sideline. And as that's happening, TJ Hawkinson is coming off his block at the line of scrimmage and leaking out to the left. And really, in this spot, J.J. McCarthy's hitching. He's got time. You're really, with the way they want to play right now, which is to just generate completions and move the football forward and establish the rhythm, J.J. McCarthy must check the ball down to TJ Hawkinson and let TJ pick up 8 yards and move on to what would have been 2nd and 2. Like that is the play. That is what has to happen. That is you look for your read to the left, you move, you shift your eyes, you're hitching, you're a little late. Instead, J.J. McCarthy launches this out route to Jordan Addison on this crossing pattern across the field into double coverage. It really should have been picked off. Some of the coaches on the sideline wanted a flag, but with that process, frankly, you almost just don't even deserve a flag, and it could have been picked and run the other way. And then, what's the narrative coming out of that game if there's another interception and one run back for a touchdown? So, that is an example of just the process where you're like, man, got to be quicker, got to be decisive, got to, push the ball forward, move the ball forward. An example of, the 100-mile-per-hour fastball, 1st and 15, 2 minutes, 34 seconds in the third quarter. It's a shotgun set, 3x1, 3 receivers to one side, 1 to the other. And the Vikings are really calling, it's a 1st and 15, so it's a get back on track. They want to pick up 7 yards and potentially more to make it manageable. It's a small little screen to Aaron Jones to the left. Donovan Jackson is leaking up to block for him. And J.J. McCarthy just throws an absolute laser beam over Aaron Jones's head, and it sails into the Ravens sideline. And it's that's one of those ones where it's can you just, touch the ball, get it up and over? Again, not easy. There's Christian Darrisaw is getting pushed back. There's a little congestion, but that is the growth and development from the layering perspective that they've talked about now going back a year and a half. Now, there is a snapshot of, progressing and getting the ball out to a quick check down. 2nd and 8, 6 minutes, 35 seconds left in the third quarter. It's a shotgun set, 3x2. The defense shows it's a single high man coverage look. And at the snap, when J.J. McCarthy catches the ball, they float backwards into this soft zone cover 4, zones all over the field look. And J.J. McCarthy looks left, he looks down the middle, and then Jordan Mason is running this flat route to the right side. He dumps the ball off. Jordan Mason picks up 6 yards on the 2nd and 8. You're moving the ball forward. You're getting to 3rd and manageable, so it's in there. And then there's other tough ones for me. I mean, there's and I mentioned this play earlier, but like 2nd and 5, 50 seconds left in the first half, really would like to steal a field goal. The Vikings are being aggressive because that is kind of their nature. It's a shotgun set. Jordan Addison's running a quick out from the left side. He just presses vertically, then he contorts out to the sideline. And this is a throw to the left, and J.J. McCarthy it looks like you're skipping a rock on a pond. And there's just the touch isn't there. He throws it with anticipation a little bit, but with that, the arc of that throw, it's just going to be really, really difficult. And then you look back at his mechanics, and he throws the football, and his right foot comes swinging around his body. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it. The right foot comes swinging around. It just feels like he clears his hip just way too much. And there's just like it's like over rotation with the way he throws, that left-handed throw. And that feels like something they've worked pretty hard on, is to keep him balanced, keep him grounded, keep things efficient. But yeah, I mean, those are 5 examples from the film where you really see you see the full gamut of throws, decision-making, arcs, layering. And I mean, it's tough. It's a lot to be in your 4th game. It really is. But I mean, and it's tough right now what the Vikings are trying to do. I mean, they're trying to win games coming off the 14-3 season, in the 4th season not having won a playoff game, and you're just going to have to live with some of the ups and downs. The question really is, moving forward, it's like, how quick can you weed out? If you think of it like a bell curve, and you get the parabola, something, this is algebra. I should know that. You guys are laughing or shaking your head in your car, and I apologize. But like, if this is the bell curve, it feels like J.J. McCarthy is operating so much on the polar ends of each side of the bell curve, and you just need to squeeze it in, and see how close you can get to just living in the middle. And how close he does get will probably dictate what the rest of the season becomes, and then, what the level of insurance is going to need to be into 26. So yeah, that's a lot on J.J. McCarthy. But for me, the only way to do this, the correct way, is to be very contextual, to look at it with a very clear-eyed view, which is part of the reason I don't record right after the game, because of the emotion within it all. And so, like, that's why and if it takes 28 minutes to go through everything, like, I'm more than okay with that, as long as that gives the most, in-depth, even-handed view of where things are for the player who matters at an exponential level, and where the Vikings are now and into the future. So, that'll wrap the J.J. McCarthy analysis for the most part. And then we're going to get right into your questions right now. All right, the first one comes from McPerp, at JJ McPerp. And this was a theme among the questions, so we're just going to start right here. And apologize if I didn't choose yours. But here's the question. Why is KOC so allergic to running compared to other coaches in the West Coast / Shanahan / McVay traditions? Before I just directly answer the question, I'm going to give you the numbers, just the most objective way to look at it. The Vikings have a 38.6% run rate since 2022. That is 30th in the NFL, ahead of only the Jets and the Bengals. They have a 46% run rate when they have the lead. So they're throwing the football 40% of the time when they have the lead. I think 54% of the football when they have the lead. We're going crazy. That's also 30th in the NFL since 2022, ahead of only the Chiefs and the Bengals. Now, you can understand why the Chiefs and the Bengals would throw the football since 2022 when they have a lead. They have Patrick Mahomes and they have Joe Burrow. And when you have those guys, not only can they throw the ball, but, effectively down the field, but you also just trust them to make the correct decisions. Now, I will say this. The Vikings run rate this season with the lead has gone up. It's the highest of Kevin O'Connell's time here per season. It's like 54%, which is eighth in the NFL. So they're running more with the lead than they ever have, which is positive. And it's in the top half of the NFL this season. So I just want to start there. But to answer the question originally, here's the best way I know to sum it up. So I covered the Kansas City Royals for 3 years, and they drafted a pitcher whose name was Brady Singer. He's still in Major League Baseball. I believe he's with the Reds now. And he came in from Florida, had a really successful college pitching career, and he really did it with 2 pitches, a fastball and a slider. And the big thing was always, can he learn the changeup? Can he learn the changeup? And so every offseason, covering baseball and covering Brady Singer, we would come into spring training and it'd be like, Brady Singer has really worked on the changeup. He's really excited to throw the changeup. He's, and then in the spring training games, JJ McCarthy, Brady Singer's throwing the changeup. The changeup looks good. It's helping him with his other pitches. Then the real games would start, and now it's all fastball slider again. And you're not seeing much changeup. And the questions are being asked, what happened to the changeup? And it was like when push came to shove, and you're in the fight, you go with what you're comfortable with. You go with what you feel confident in, because that's when the decisions must be made. And so it just has always felt, really, since 2022. And I'm saying this from the outside, but I've also talked to enough people where, this is not just me saying this. There have been a lot of people, both, whether you could say it fans, but there are a lot of people I've talked to. I'm just going to put it very general like that, where this has been a conversation. And it's just always felt like the fastball for the Minnesota Vikings is throwing the football, which is sensible. You play in a dome, you've got Justin Jefferson, you've got Jordan Addison, and until this year, you had Kirk Cousins, who's thrown for thousands of yards, Sam Darnold, who has one of the smoothest arms, incredible arm strength and touch, and, just ability to air it out. And so the fastball is the passing game, and it's fine, we'll throw the off-speed pitch every now and then. And so, that's just how it's felt. I showed up to training camp this year believing that for this to work this year, the run game can no longer be the off-speed pitch. That's just how it felt. And I will tell you, in training camp, it seemed to me like they were taking great pride in running the ball a lot, in having those run gains go for gains. I remember there was a press conference in training camp where Kevin O'Connell was talking about the run game and his pride in how the run game looked in training camp. And that's great. But again, that's also happening outside of the fight, where in game, you've got to make decisions and you go with what you feel most comfortable and confident in. And it just, again, even with the number increasing with how much they're running the football with the lead, it just doesn't feel like the run game has been the bell cow that it needs to be for this team. And the part that is, it's difficult is you have 2 tackles you're paying, millions upon millions of dollars. You drafted a first-round left guard. You paid big money to your right guard, Will Fries. You have a fullback in C.J. Ham. You paid Aaron Jones a 2-year contract. You acquired Jordan Mason for draft capital and agreed to a 2-year deal with him. You have the receiver weapons that almost dictate light boxes. So, so many of the circumstances are in your favor. Obviously, they weren't when a lot of the offensive linemen were hurt, and that's 100% a factor. But in general, like the circumstances now are in the favor for you to be able to run the football efficiently. And so, and not only are they in your favor, but they're almost, I mean, not almost, it is a necessity with where this team is and how it wants to win. And really, with the juice that Aaron Jones has shown the last couple weeks, and Jordan Mason has still been efficient. Like, I mean, Jordan Mason, I believe, ripped off an 11-yard gain where he just vision to the outside. Like these guys are capable, and the advanced metrics will tell you that they've run the ball fairly efficiently. It's just been the commitment. It just feels like it has to go from being, this is a pitch we have to throw, to this is a pitch we know we need to throw right now, and we've got confidence and comfort in it. And that's the best way I know how to describe it. But yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. If you listen to the show, if you've read the writing, I mean, I can recall doing stories about the run game in Alexander Madison in 2023. I mean, it goes back that long. The next question comes from Michael Kraus, is his name. I've got these pulled up on Twitter. Michael Kraus, do you wonder if O'Connell truly had an elite running back like Jeremiah Love, he would run the ball a lot more? Felt like he gave Cook the ball a lot more than any of the other running backs he had. I mean, my thing with that is, I mean, this offense can't really afford much more investment. I mean, you've invested first-round picks in receiver and offensive guard. You've paid your tackles. You paid Justin Jefferson. Next year, the Vikings running backs, from a cap perspective, is close to the top of the league with what they're paying to that room. So a first-round pick on a running back, I mean, like, I get it with the Jahmyr Gibbs situation. That guy, I view him less as a running back than more as just like an explosive weapon. But it just doesn't, I mean, I've said this many times. The Vikings don't have a defensive starter that they've drafted since 2021. So it feels like acquiring youth on that side of the ball is beyond more important than drafting a running back. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I'd say. Next question comes from Leleisberg. I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm probably botching it. But Jalen Naylor has looked awesome this year. Any chance we bring him back despite Jordan Addison's contract coming up? I mean, it's going to cost. That's what I'd say. Like, Jalen Naylor has been one of, if not the most consistent offensive player that the Vikings have had throughout this season. And I don't even feel like I'm overstepping or providing some crazy hot take saying that. He gives the effort on a down-to-down basis in the run game. He has the speed to take the top off vertically. He can separate against man. He has feel in zone. He doesn't complain if he's the third guy in the progression. He showed Sunday that he's not giving up, so his compete level rises to a certain occasion, it rises to a certain degree, and he's going to be a free agent this upcoming cycle. And again, I mean, it goes back to the earlier points, like how much more investment can be made on this offense. Plus, you drafted Ty Felton with the expectation that he would develop. Now, I mean, it would be a big drop-off regardless, even if Ty Felton, takes some gigantic step. I mean, Jalen Naylor is in line, in my opinion, and I haven't heard this from anybody, but this is just me, like for a multi-year deal in free agency. And most of the time when you're shopping in free agency, it's, players who there's some age concerns or production fall off. I mean, this is a guy it feels like it is arrow up entering free agency, which is great for him. I mean, he's really put in the time. He navigated injuries early in his career. So to the question, if the Vikings want to pony up, I mean, that's probably what would the thing that would allow that to happen. Otherwise, any other NFL team who is paying attention and watching the tape is going to list this guy very high in terms of their free agency shopping list, Christmas list, if you want to say it like that. Next question comes from Ryan Erickson. Getting back to my list here. Hold on. Ryan Erickson asks. We gotta find this. Ryan, is your question there, Ryan? Hold on a second. Here we go. Obviously, a lot of season left, but if you had to guess right now, what position do you think the Vikings address with their first round pick in next year's draft? Yeah, I mean, someone asked me also for the mailbag, like, what college players do you like? And you guys know that's my time of year. I love watching the film of these college guys. I haven't done enough of it because we're dealing with 4 and 5 season that has been an odyssey, to say the least. But I mean, this is pure speculation, but I'd probably say, I mean, you're looking at safety, you're looking at tackle, corner, interior defensive line. I mean, that's probably, those are the ones that come to mind. I mean, you know, probably tackle, safety, cornerback. Trenches are usually the safest play, but yeah, that's what I'd say. Rock NHL asks, is Wes Phillips in the booth on the field in game days? Wes is on the field. He moved from the booth last year, it might have been. Does the coordinator it feels like it's just coordinator preference. I often find it kind of silly when it's like coordinator moves down to the sideline or up to the booth. For me, that's in the along the lines of like we're taking ping pong tables out of the locker room or moving them in, especially when the coordinator doesn't call plays and Wes Phillips does not. Question from Mark Larson, who always reads and comments, and I appreciate him for that. Let's see here. See if we can find Mark. Mark Larson. You're there. I know you're there. There we go. Like many big time receivers. Oh no. Maybe yeah. Let's just go with this. Like many big time receivers, JJ gets a little frustrated if he doesn't get the ball early. You think that changes this week? TJ Hockenson hasn't been involved in the passing game. What's up with that? I think the TJ thing is the thing I wanted to hit on more because I'm going to come back to Justin. Part of the reason TJ hasn't been involved in the pass game is he's been such a, he's like, the Vikings have just been like a 6 protection unit at least. And he's a big part of that. It just doesn't feels like there's a ton right now over the middle of the field. There were a couple JJ quick game throws to Adam Thielen over the middle of the field, but for the most part, and then I haven't watched TJ, his route running at a granular level to say whether or not his option routes are as sharp as they've used to be, but it just felt like a couple of years ago, like he was more open with that stuff, whether that's a byproduct of, space from the defense and how they're trying to take it away, whether it's a byproduct of him or whether it's a byproduct of design, whether he's running as many of those routes. It's all interesting, but that's what I'd say with Hockenson. Austin M. We'll go with Austin Robb. We heard so much about situational masters in the first few years of KOC tenure. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard anything about it this season. Do you think it's a correlation to the team's issues with ball control, communication, clock management, penalties? Frankly, Rob, I haven't heard the situational master stuff a lot since the first season Kevin O'Connell was here in 2022. How much of it? It's a fair question, but I will tell you this: like I know in the meeting rooms, on the boards, I mean, it is be all about the ball, take care of it, generate turnovers, and I mean it is it's something I've mentioned this, but I do think it's really important. The Vikings have turned the ball over 94 times offensively since Kevin O'Connell got here. That's third most in the NFL, behind the Browns and the Colts. And if it weren't for the defense's ability to generate turnovers, like I think we'd be talking about this a lot more. It's been a feature of these offenses, and how much of that is, the risk that they're taking when they're launching the ball down the field, how much of that is, quarterback decision making. It's all probably a part of it. But yeah, I did want to mention that. But haven't heard a ton of the situational master stuff in a bit. Austin M. We'll get back to Austin M. Do you think Jefferson's effort off game was just a rare occurrence or something we should be concerned about, like him being unhappy here or something? Yeah, I've never seen Justin Jefferson look like he looked on Sunday. I have not. Not in the time I've covered him since 2022. There have been times in the past where physicality gets to him. There are instances where, I remember Philadelphia week 2 a couple years ago, Darius Slay competitive early in the game and he wanted the flag. But it's felt like for the most part, like that has been a progression point for him. But I mean, his whole ethos and he lives this, like, it's not just something he says and talks about, has been like to give it his all, to never, to always be the one where you watch the film, he's the guy who's giving it everything he's got, regardless of the situation. I mean, it's something he's talked about at like camps, and you see videos of that. And it just, it was an odd one. Like the throw over the middle in the end zone that he probably should catch. I will say, like, that is a very difficult throw. And it's one of those still where I wonder, like, the catchable ball thing, is it easier if it's, I don't, but it was, you expect him to make that catch. Him being unhappy here, like, I think that's always, people are yearning for that. It seems like, where it's like, oh, Justin winked. So does that mean, like, and I've never felt that. I mean, he's gotten paid here. He's loved this organization. So much of the offense is built around him. Kevin O'Connell's love for him is not, that's not a secret. So, I expect him to, be very in the fight Sunday against the Bears. We'll do a few more and then hop out of here. Mr. Minnesota, Ryan Kelly back in the next 2 games, ? Kevin O'Connell said earlier this week that Ryan Kelly's 21-day window should be opened up soon. He's been in the building. Like, I've seen him in the locker room almost every day. And so, we'll see. I would say, if I'm not going to put an expectation on the 2 games or whatever. Like, I expect the Vikings and Ryan Kelly to take this one with the utmost precaution, and be very smart with that. You hope that includes him wearing a Guardian cap if he does come back. But him being in the building for me is a indication probably that, like, he's not ready to just leave and give it up and walk away. And so, it's a tough situation, obviously, but I'd say, he was out on the side field last week practicing, and we'll just see how it progresses this week when we get back in the building. Let's see. Is there anything else? Anything else we want to get to? Trevor Laxon, and we'll just end it here probably. All the batted balls, are the batted balls part of JJ's motion taking too long? Is there not enough touch? Some of it to me, I feel like is he's hitching up too much in the pocket to where he's so close to those interior defenders that there's just not a lot of room for the touch. Now, is some of the, like, Justin Herbert has a pretty line drive throwing motion and gets batted balls a frequent amount, and he's 6'5". So that's an aspect. It's something we're going to have to continue to watch. This Bears front is not like you're penetrating, just tear down the wall, get up the field front. So them utilizing the similar strategy, getting the hands up, is probably something they're going to do. Can J.J. McCarthy get the ball up and over? Something we're going to watch for sure. Someone else asked, like, what do you watch, with J.J.'s development? It's accuracy, it's balance, it's calm, it's smoothness, it's rhythm. Like, does he look like his feet are in rhythm? Is it, and it's hard to see, but, if it's feet all over the plate, and then accuracy sprayed and like that, it's felt like that a little bit at times. Like, it's less of a, jazz type of operation. It's more like heavy metal, grit your teeth. That's just kind of how it's felt. And maybe that sounds crazy, but just kind of my lens on it and the perspective that I wanted to provide for you guys here today. If you got all the way here, appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to Apple or Spotify or iHeart, we appreciate that. The show is presented by First Resource Bank. There are branches all over the area, and I really recommend you guys stopping in, setting up an account. It's great and awesome to use. And then Unreal. I mean, I'm going to show you again if you're watching on YouTube. They got these limited edition drops. This one's volume 3. It's sleek. It's comfortable. Yeah, that'll do it for episode 127 of the Alec Lewis Show. Stories over at The Athletic. And in the meantime, we will talk to you very, very soon.